Computer crime is becoming a bigger and bigger problem around the world. Here in Champaign-Urbana, consumers are feeling the brunt of international organized crime. But one group is developing a global malware intelligence system to help prevent this crime. Here on Business Insider, John Bambenek of Bambenek Consulting. Welcome.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that even here in the prairie, we're susceptible to all kinds of attacks on the internet, and our businesses and our homes may not be safe, right? So tell us about Bambenek Consulting and your malware and all of that.
Okay. Ultimately, I mean, this is work that I've been doing basically my entire career for 15 some odd years, is finding some ways to disrupt how organized crime works online. You know, because people get antivirus software, they get all these tools, yet big breaches happen, and sometimes it's not even consumer PCs, it's companies that got breached. A few days ago, Goodwill Industries had their credit card system breached.
Oh, no.
Earlier this year, Schnucks, which everybody listening here probably got a new credit or debit card out of that deal. Wow. So, you know, it's a growing problem, and, you know, the existing defenses we have aren't really doing the job.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you work primarily with businesses, with homes, institutions? How does it...
It's primarily working with other security companies and law enforcement, both in the United States and overseas.
Well, it's because just before the break we were talking about how some, I don't know, it was Ukrainians or whatever, I mean, they actually were targeting the U of I for a little while because they found somebody had looked at their website and they thought, I don't know, what's the story behind that?
Ultimately, every time there's political conflict in the Eastern European area, people start launching attacks against one another. For whatever reason, a U of I IP address was in somebody's logs, and they blamed us for it. And that, you know, that was a few days worth of controversy. And I got a few calls from the FBI and the university security people to, you know, see if what input I can give onto that.
So how preventable are these attacks?
Well, I mean, to be honest, if we could prevent it with any real assurance, it would be happening a whole lot less. Like the denial of service attacks with what you just talked about, they're growing in frequency and they're growing in intensity. Because there's so many machines out there that are insecure, just out there, and they can be used to attack other people and innocent third parties.
Wow. So what is Bambenek doing about all of this?
Well, my kind of small piece of that puzzle is, you know, computer viruses, what we call as malware, is usually the primary means by which people start stealing information, hijacking computers, breaking into organizations, stealing trade secrets. You know, they're always changing. You know, a given individual may have hundreds or thousands of different pieces of malware per day they use. They just cycle so quickly because antivirus software has to detect it, get it, reverse engineering it, and get a signature.
Right.
What I do is simply, where is this malware talking to? What's their infrastructure? And I map basically the organized crime infrastructure globally to say, okay, these are where the people are operating out of, so seize this machine, seize these domain names. And the one big case I worked on recently, we've been able to take out an entire, you know, organized crime malware family, and it's been about 6 weeks and it's still down. So big win there.
That is fantastic. And all of that coming out of a firm based right here in Champaign-Urbana. That is fantastic. Well, what does the future hold for Bambenek?
Well, I mean, the big problem is trying to create that kind of response on a smaller timeline. The one case I was talking about, I picked up on it in September, and the takedown was, I believe, late May, early June. So 9 months, they were able to operate in the clear, steal money. Kind of knew where the infrastructure was, but, you know, the cycle to get law enforcement involved, all the pieces in place, took a lot of time. So creating those tools to do it quicker so the scale could be weeks or days instead of months or years.
Yeah, I think the future will get better because we have people like you working on the problem now. And it's a little bit like World War II. I mean, they woke up a sleeping giant when they did Pearl Harbor. Now I think they've woken up the entire software community that, hey, we need to work on these. So it's really neat to know that something that sophisticated is coming right out of a firm here in Champaign, and Bambenek is taking a role in that. So I do appreciate you being on the show today. It's fantastic stuff. John Bambenek with Bambenek Consulting. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Alex.